And they have been off the radar for years, just like Osama bin Laden. But now there is new word that members of his immediate family have been held under house arrest in Tehran. At least one of them managing to slip away from her guards, reportedly taking refuge. She reportedly took refuge in a the Saudi embassy, I should say, in Tehran. Fox News contributor Marvin Kalb is a former diplomatic correspondent and the former host of Meet the Press. Marvin, good to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you, Martha.
You know, it's so intriguing to hear about this family and their story and where they've been. What do you think about this revelation that they have been basically walled in a compound in Iran, and they're told, according to this report, that this is for their safety? They must stay there.
Well, we don't know exactly what that real situation is in Iran. If you have to be there for 8 years, walled up in one place, I doubt that you did that because you wanted to do that. But there's a larger question here, which has to do, it seems to me, with the Osama bin Laden family, which is a very large family. This man probably has 4 wives. He's got about 19, 20 children. Many of them are in business. They are well known. They're in Saudi Arabia. There are a couple, however, that U.S. intelligence believes are actually hooked in with the father's terrorist operation in the hills in Pakistan. So I would imagine that if there are more telephone calls now among the various children, U.S. intelligence ought to be listening in, and perhaps if one of those calls goes to Daddy, we will find out where the man is, if he's alive at all.
And can we expect, any cooperation from Tehran, from the Iranian government, in terms of questioning any of these? And there was, a story not too long ago about one of his sons perhaps being killed by a U.S. drone who may have been involved in taking over some of his father's terrorist acts.
That's right. And there are 2 of the sons believed to be close to the father and believed to be involved in the father's business of terrorism. But there are many others out there. The remarkable thing about this family is that Osama bin Laden's father, Mohammed, had 50 children. And he was one of the wealthiest businessmen in Saudi Arabia. He was very close to the monarch. He was given all of the big business deals, the construction deals. And then there's the black sheep, Osama bin Laden. So about 10 years ago, they simply kicked him out of the family, as it were. He went into full-time work as a terrorist. We don't really know whether this man is even alive at this point. There is very little known. That's why I'm saying this opening now, learning a little bit about the family, may give the U.S. intelligence people some opportunity to connect in, possibly, to the father.
I thought it was interesting in this report that the family was moved out of Afghanistan, according to this reporting, before September 11th. That they were taken out of that area, that they went to the Iranian border, and then they were taken in there. And it begs the question whether the family knew, or any members of the family knew, why they were being moved at that specific time, right before September 11th, and whether anybody who brought them in Tehran had any indication of why this family seemed to be on the move at that moment.
Well, my gut feeling on that particular question, Martha, would be that the family, the wife and the kids, probably knew nothing, nothing at all. The father, in this case, was running a very tight-lipped terrorist operation. He was not sharing things with the children, as we might do in the U.S. They do not do that by custom there. And so I think the answer to your question is probably they knew very little about it, except that something was up. They were being detached. And that would indicate that the Osama people knew in advance and would guess properly that the U.S. was likely to attack once the U.S. was attacked.
Yeah, some of these children were babies at the time, and now are 8 years older than that. And as you point out, the family has an interesting history. I remember seeing pictures of all the children on trips to London together and traveling around in the 70s and 80s. It's a fascinating story in its own right, and what will happen to these people, we'll wait and see. Thank you very much, Marvin. Always good to see you.
You're welcome.